Welcome, everybody, to a special edition of Currency Live, aptly named Stablecoins at Mastercard Scale, hosted by me, Chris Harmse, co-founder and chief business officer at BVNK. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Jorn Lambert, the chief product officer at Mastercard, to discuss the recently announced definitive agreement for Mastercard to acquire BVNK. Under this agreement, BVNK will power Mastercard's stablecoin capabilities globally, while BVNK customers will crucially be able to benefit from Mastercard's global reach, the interoperability with fiat payments infrastructure. And welcome to the show, Jorn.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Great. And I actually just wanted to call one thing out before we dive in. Recently Jorn joined our BVNK All Hands, and he said something that really resonated with me. He said, "It's not often one gets to shape an entire industry, and I truly believe the combination of our companies can do just that." So today we're going to be talking about, why this partnership makes sense and what we see as the future of payment rails, where stablecoins, digital currencies, and traditional payment networks work seamlessly together. So welcome again, Jorn. Awesome. So it's customary to kick these things off with a quick fire round, get the blood pumping, warm up a little bit. The rules are pretty simple, brief answers only, yes or no, one sentence max if you really need to elaborate. So let's dive straight in. First question. Did you sleep the night before the announcement?
Oh, yes, slept very well.
Yeah, I know I didn't, but makes one of us. True or false? Most payment executives still underestimate the pace of stablecoin adoption.
Yes, true. Both the pace and the potential.
Nice. Has anyone asked you what is a stablecoin in the last 48 hours?
No.
Making progress. Will financial institutions use multiple payment rails as standard practice by 2030?
Yeah, I'm deeply convinced of that. That will be fiat, tokenized deposits, stablecoin, cards, account to account, for sure.
100%. Is regulatory clarity or education the bigger challenge for stablecoin adoption?
Regulatory clarity, for sure. That is why we're 11 years into stablecoins, and it's just still the beginning. I think it's regulatory clarity.
No, I think that leads into the next question. Are we closer to the beginning or the end of the stablecoin revolution? I think you already answered that one.
Well, I actually don't believe in revolutions in payments. Nothing happens overnight, and revolution is a dramatic turn. We're talking about a regulated activity. We deal with people's livelihoods. It's a complex and global ecosystem. So I think of it more as an evolution, and in this case, complementary to what already exists, and very well suited to certain use cases. Very early stages, I would say. Very early stages.
Yeah, well said. Look, will the average person even know which payment rail they're using in the future?
But this is not an easy one, Chris. Ideally, no, because we need to make it very seamless for them. But they do need to know when they hold the deposits. They need to know whether it's a FDIC insured deposits or something else. But in the flow, in transit, I think they don't need to know. So it's not such a one-word answer, I'm afraid.
No, perfect. Multifaceted for sure. And finally, what one word best describes what this partnership unlocks?
Interoperability between the fiat world and the on-chain world.
100%. And for me, it's actually the word scale is kind of imprinted in my brain. So super excited about that.
Chris,
cool.
We have this expression in Mastercard: if it doesn't scale, it doesn't matter. So it's kind of a given. Scale is a given.
Yes. Scale is a given, 100%. Great. Look, let's dive into the topic du jour today. Why BVNK? So it's really like, Jorn, for you, how did BVNK first come onto Mastercard's radar, and kind of what did that internal process look like just as you guys started entering into your stablecoin journey and started getting a bit more serious?
Yeah, look, we've been looking at stablecoins for quite a while. We're supporting, obviously, the crypto cards. We're supporting it for settlement. It's not something like we've discovered in the last couple of weeks. We've been at it for a number of years. And as such, we've been working with hundreds of companies out there over the last couple of years. What I think, what really impressed us with BVNK, firstly, your name keeps coming up, which is a good sign. probably thanks to very good marketing, but also because you have a track record in servicing fintechs, which are also our customers, with real payment use cases. And that emphasis on payments and very specialized on payments away from maybe the traditional crypto trading and showing success in that space is what really popped for us. And we'll talk a little bit more, but you even though you're a very young and dynamic company, you also show a level of maturity and a level of pragmatism that we don't always see somewhere else. And so that was what attracted us to engage in a deeper discussion with BVNK.
No, and I think that's exactly right, and appreciate those words. Look, I think our compliance rigor probably stood out. We built our business with a compliance first approach, and definitely did that. But I think at what point did the discussion in your mind go from, look, let's work together, a potential commercial partnership, to let's explore something bigger? Was it was that back end of last year, or how did you think through that turning point?
Yeah, that was I would say over the summer of last year. We were thinking, there's clearly a lot of signals that this market is on a bit of an inflection point. Genius had just come out. Financial institutions were looking at this very seriously. Obviously, Europe had MiCA, the MiCA regulations out. Singapore, Hong Kong, UK were all gearing up to more regulation. And so we then asked ourselves, well, who do we want to be in this space? Do we want to be a chain? Do we want to be a coin? Do we want to be a B2C wallet? Do we want to be the interoperability or orchestration layer? And we very quickly centered around that, which is very close to our current role in the ecosystem. And if you then look at the landscape, BVNK stood out as I mentioned, really pragmatic, not like an ideological approach around, stablecoins is so much superior to fiat, but really pragmatically about where can stablecoins add value compared to fiat. Where is it a real solution to a problem, whereas actually there is no problem to solve. Secondly, you mentioned it, compliance first attitude, right? You have licenses in many markets that takes years and years to obtain, and then a very, I would say, robust compliance posture in that space. Again, really important because not everybody has that same discipline. You have great connectivity, direct connectivity in SEPA, but also through financial institutions. And then probably the thing that really piqued our interest is that you have a modular product setup that is catered like with your product primitives, right? What you call send, receive, store, and convert, which caters for many use cases that exist, but I believe are actually very well set up for what doesn't quite exist yet. And given that we're in our early innings, you need to have something that can truly scale and flex towards the future. And that sits, of course, on a technical setup that we went very deep on, that we really studied, that we thought, okay, these guys seem to know what they're doing, and all this, Chris, is a testimony for a team that is, like I said, pragmatic but passionate and very disciplined. All this, frankly, we liked, and that's why we're here today.
No, 100%. Look, appreciate that. I mean, I think, over the years, we've really had this product ethos of, you got to kind of gravitate to the hard problems, which means you go and get licensed before you even needed to get licensed. You had to go build those direct integrations into fiat payment rails to try and make that interoperability between the stablecoin worlds and the blockchain worlds and the fiat world. But then also, crucially, building our own infrastructure in-house to be able to talk to all of these blockchains and integrate with all of these banks. That tech stack and platform really has stood the test of time now and has really scaled significantly. So, look, I think we're really proud of what we've built, and we're really excited for what's to come. And maybe that is a great segue into what is to come. I want to kind of switch gears and talk a little bit about the future and the future that we're building towards, where financial institutions don't choose one rail over another. And I always like to think that they actually choose the rail for a specific transaction or a specific job to be done at that point in time. So, Jorn, paint a bit of a picture for us. What does this future look like where stablecoins, digital currencies, digital wallets, cards, and traditional payment methods, work seamlessly together? How does this, what's your vision for that future of payments?
Yeah, but very much agree. It's really not is one better than the other? Is one going to replace the other? It's not about having to choose. It's about connecting both, and it's the connectivity between both and the interoperability between both that will make it actually useful and bring the benefits that have been promised for many. And so, to your point, we're already multi-rail in certain respects. We support card rails, we support account-to-account rails. That is another rail that brings real benefit, specifically around today around cross-border settlement. And banks will choose what product they use at rest, meaning within the deposits of the consumers, and what product to use in transit. And I think having that flexibility and the ability to connect both will frankly really show efficiency across many use cases. We kind of have a good view about what these use cases are in the short to medium term. I'm actually much more excited about what will come down the line with things that we haven't quite thought of, or where we see the first green shoots, and that, I believe, is going to be very significant.
No, 100%. I think there's a blue sky in front of us to really lean into this merging and interoperability of fiat and stablecoin payment rails, and kind of see where that takes us over the coming years. Look, and I mean, as we talk about it, like, you're a technical guy, a technical background, and like, what needs to happen kind of technically, operationally, and from a reg perspective to really make this interoperable future reality? We've spoken about some green shoots. We're in the early innings, but where do you see what do you see from those kind of perspectives, technically, operationally, and kind of from a regulatory perspective?
Yeah, so firstly, on the regulatory perspective, come a long way. Still a lot to do to provide more clarity in certain of the regulation out there and to implement them. But that's actually well underway, and I think we're really quite optimistic that in many significant geographies, we'll see a body of regulation that both fintechs, but also the more established financial institutions can embrace. Right, that is table stakes. Without that, no financial institution can touch it by a barge pole. And if you don't bring the financial ecosystem along, this will remain marginal forever. Right? So I am, in the beginnings of this was positioned almost as anti-bank or anti-financial establishment. I personally, I think that's a little naive. I think it is about co-opting or bringing in the financial institutions, the balance sheets of the banks, and then truly on-chain economic activity can blossom. And I think regulation is number one. Secondly, the expectation is we'll have dozens of chains. We'll have probably hundreds of coins in, again, dozens, if not more, currencies, distributed by thousands of players that need to interact with the fiat ecosystem, which, as you know, is very fragmented too. That is an interoperability nightmare for many. It's an interoperability dream for us, because that's what we do. That's where we think we can add value. That's where we think we can actually turn things seamlessly. And I'd like to think that we do that reasonably well in the fiat space, i.e., if I go and visit you, Chris, in Cape Town, I will be able to pay with my UK or my European cards at any merchant out there, and it will work. And that merchant will have the guarantee that they will get paid, and I will be protected myself as well. We can't do that today with the dozens of chains, with the hundreds of coins, and with the dozen of currencies. And that's why this combination of BVNK and us to connect these two worlds is in our view extremely powerful. Bringing that then with the brand that we have, with the connectivity of 23,000 financial institutions that we have, many of whom already are jumping on the bandwagon. Many more want to jump on the bandwagon. I think that is actually really the opportunity here. It is to bring the existing financial ecosystem, level it up, so to speak, so that they can take advantage of that in a way that interoperates with the fiat world. And I mean, you said it before. We're not an on-chain maximalist. We don't believe that the whole world economy will move on-chain. It is the right tool for the right job, and certain use cases will greatly benefit from stablecoins and on-chain activity. Others won't. That's okay. We need to offer the right tool for the job.
100%. I mean, I think that's the best place to leave it. The right payment tool for the right payment job. Jorn, thank you so much for joining us today. This is Currency Live, hosted by me, Chris Harmse, brought to you by BVNK. Just a reminder, we're building financial infrastructure powered by stablecoins. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Chris.
Good job.